Fire hazard. Seats over here as well. Perfect moment to remember to please silence your cell phones before our service begins or put them in airplane mode. Shir lamalo esai el harim me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai Oseh shamayim varetz Aiten lamoraglecha al yanum shomrecha Hinei lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael Adonai shomrecha Adonai tzilcha yad yaminecha Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka ve'yareach balayla Adonai yishmorecha mikora yishmor et nafshecha Adonai yishmor tzedcha uvolecha Me'ata ve'ad olam. Psalm 121. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, creator of heaven and earth. Adonai will not let your foot give way, and your guardian will not slumber. The guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your guardian, your protection at your right hand. Adonai will guard your life, your going and your coming, now and forever. Good morning. My name is Cantor Elizabeth Sachs. I'm the senior cantor at Temple Emmanuel, and we are here today to remember Jerry Robinson, to remember his great kindness, to remember the love that he shared with his family, to remember the way he could light up a room with his smile and his sometimes zaniness, to remember the way he shared what he loved in his life with everyone around him. We remember today that when we lose someone we love, our memories bring us both comfort and sadness. And so we move through this morning knowing that to honor his memory is to share stories that are poignant, stories that might make us cry, and stories that bring a laugh to our heart. We will share today. We will pray together, and then we will hear from Jerry's family some of the stories that most importantly and most dramatically bring his presence into this room, because that is what we are here to do, to acknowledge that even though Jerry is no longer with us physically, his spiritual presence will remain with us for years to come. As long as we tell his stories, as long as we share our memories, Jerry will always be with us. We learn in our tradition that when someone we love passes away, we acknowledge that their passing, their death is better than a life of pain. We learn that their eternal rest is better than constant sickness. And as a drop of water in the sea and as a grain of sand on the shore, so are our few days here on this earth. But we know and we learn that even though the good things in life last for what seems like a short time, a good reputation endures forever. And so with that in our minds and in our hearts, I'm going to ask members of the family who would like to share reflections to come up onto our pulpit and to share, each one of you individually, some of your most important memories. Paula, would you like to share? Would you like to share from where you are? I think that might make more sense. I bet if you stand up and turn around, they will be able to hear you. Let's try that.
The reason I want to speak first is I know all these people on my stories. I'm going to tell you. First thing I want to tell you from the beginning to the end. The first thing I must say is when we met, and I met Jared at a wedding, and I saw him, and I saw the people, but it's very strange. I was looking at him. He had a very nice suit, and it fitted, and I like that. Anyway, I was introduced to him. His name, they told me his name was Crusoe. So I thought that was Crusoe, what a strange name. But anyway, a couple of days later, he called me up and he said, "This is Crusoe." "Oh," and he said, "Jerry Robbins." I said, "Oh, who's so Robbins?" Well, anyway, we started dating, and we were together about 2 weeks. And the bride and groom came home, and I called my friend, the bride, and I said, "I've been going with Jerry Robinson. Oh my gosh, am I glad he was here. I just liked him so much." And so I said, "Thank you very much, Hannah." And Hannah called after her husband, Phil, and he said he was not invited. So, well, and there at the end, he was so wonderful. I visited him 4 months while he got worse, sicker. And in the middle way, he could still talk. Put his arm around me there. And he said, "Don't worry, it'll be okay." And it was beautiful. And then later on, he said, "You know, you're my sister." And that's the last time we talked. And I stayed with him till the very end. And then the nurse said, "Don't take a nap," because I didn't know it was 2 o'clock in the morning. And so I laid down and took a little nap. When I woke up, they came to me and said, "Jerry's gone." And I got up and I looked at him, and you see the peace. And when he couldn't breathe well, and I thought, "Please God, take him." So horrible that way. And within hours, he passed away. So I was with him like 6 hours before. And then I went over and I looked at him and I said, "Good boy, my love." And that's the way. We were married 64 years. And not only that, he adored training. Like nobody. And that's what.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sam Robinson. I am Jerry's grandson. I'm winging it here. I got wrote nothing down. So I'm just going to speak from the heart. What a great guy. Always smiling, always bringing a positive energy. He was always consistently himself. And I think that's something we can all take away from this, is to be undeniably and be genuinely yourself all the way till the end. Even as stubborn as he was, all the way till the end, we love him so much. He was an amazing man. He was an amazing father. And I'm so grateful he adopted my dad and raised him, and Shelly as well, and just the whole family and everyone who's here. I think all in all, with who he was and everything he did in his life, even though his train has technically left the station, there's a lot of us in this family that are still pushing forward and moving on and going to do something with the Robinson name. But I'm just so grateful for everyone that's here. I'm so grateful to be here. And words are hard to describe how grateful I am to have experienced a relationship like that. And it blows my mind that we technically weren't even blood related, but it was so family-like and so close that blood doesn't mean anything. You know, if somebody's taking care of you, if somebody's there for you, if somebody shows up, which he always did, it means a lot. And I think we can all take something from who he was and implement it into our own lives and make something better out of ourselves from something that may seem tragic on the surface. But all in all, this is a good thing to happen. And I'm really glad he's not suffering anymore. I'm glad he's not in pain. And I'm just so grateful to be a part of this family and this journey that we're all on. So thank you, guys.
You see me? As you remember, my name is Shelley Kornfeld and my dad was Jerry. And he was little too, so what can you do? I have so many feelings for him and memories. And we were talking about him yesterday with Kenter just to kind of get a little bit of an idea what his life was like. And I just felt like I was telling story after story after story after story. And I didn't realize that before, but it's like, oh yeah, and what about this? And what about that? And speaking of liking to crash weddings, I do want to tell this story. When I was in college, I was in a sorority and we had a father-daughter weekend and we had a dance and it was held in a big hotel in a huge ballroom. So they had different activities going on in the ballroom and we got there early. And so some of my sorority sisters and friends were there with their dads and we were just waiting around and there was a wedding like across the room from us. And so my dad came up with the idea of, well, let's go mingle in the wedding. And I said, what? We don't know them, Dad. He's like, yeah, let's just go. And I'm like, okay, because I trusted him. I've always trusted my father. So I said, okay. So we went over there and we started talking to people. And I was so impressed with how well he schmoozed with people. They were asking him questions about, oh, are you friends with the bride or the groom? He's all the groom and just spontaneously was just talking. And I was just standing there mortified because I was like, I didn't know what to do. And he introduced me as his wife. And that was interesting. I just looked at him like, what? Because I looked so much like him. So we really matched. And actually, he matched better with my mom because that's how it was supposed to be. But anyway, we had a good time. Then we had a story to tell. And I went back and all my story sisters were like, what did you guys do? How'd it go? And I just went on and told them about it. And we all had a good laugh. And that was a lot of fun. I got closer with my dad as I got older and as more of an adult, we could relate more on an adult basis. And I realized that he was always honest and loving and kind and never had a mean thing to say about anybody. He was just not a gossiping kind of person that would say mean things. And I see that in my children. And actually my husband has some of that as well. And I just remember being with him and just sitting and being with him. If we would talk, that was fine. If we didn't talk, that was fine. He taught me about football. I thought that football was a stupid game because I was sitting watching him and these guys are just running into each other. And I'm like, what a stupid game. And he said, no, there's a ball involved. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so then he explained it to me. And after that, I watched football with him every Sunday and became a very big Broncos fan, just like he was. He just always had nice things to say about people. And he was very, very kind to anybody. He always held the door open wherever we were, if we're in a restaurant or anywhere, it didn't matter. He'd open the door for everybody. And I liked that. And I do that because I thought that was just very kind. And so I learned a lot. I think a lot of the kindness that I have tried to develop in myself came from knowing my father and feeling his kindness and his love. And I miss him terribly. And I was going to say when he was in hospice and I was spending time with him, it was really nice because I finally got to have time alone with my dad. And I would sit there and hold his hand and look in his eyes and tell him I love him. And, and he would say, well, I love you too. And sometimes he knew who I was and sometimes he didn't know who I was. So I was there with my mom at one point and I was sitting on a bed and he was sitting in a chair and my mom was on the other side. And he says to my mom, he looks over and goes, I really like her. She's really nice. And it just meant so much. I thought, it was beyond, oh, he didn't recognize me. That's fine. It was just the love was there, the kindness and the connection that he and I had. And that was what was most important to me is we got to have that connection and I could just look in his eyes and talk to him. And as he got further along, when we would FaceTime with him. So like my sons and my husband could see him as well. And I remember my kids saying to him, hi, Grandpa. And he would say, hi, Grandpa, because that's, what he said. And it was always really cute. And he just said some cute things, but he was just a lovely, kind-hearted, generous, loving person and did wonders. I mean, all of his friends loved him. He's just so kind, and I'm really honored to be his daughter and to get to speak about him today. So thank you, everybody, for coming. Appreciate it.
Hi, my name's Ron Kornfeld. I'm the son-in-law. So I met Jerry actually when he was younger than I am now. So I've known him for would that be over half my life? 35 years, so more than half my life. In addition to his kindness and everything else, one of the things that always amazed me about him is he had a lot to boast about. He had a lot to brag about, and he never did. And this world is filled with so many braggarts and blowhards and bullies. And we had to pry out of him the story of when he hung out with Johnny Cash when he worked at Eli. Just anybody else, they would tell that for their entire life. Hey, you remember the time I hung out with Johnny Cash? Until people were tired of hearing about it. I knew he built model planes, and he was meticulous about that. And his work was just incredible. I didn't know that he had a wall full of trophies for having done that. He never mentioned it until I went into his office, and there's all these trophies there. It's just, it's incredible, because most people don't live like that. Most people live always looking for, validation from other people. And that's the most striking thing. He didn't care what other people thought. And usually when you say that, you're talking about somebody who hurts other people. You're talking about somebody who takes advantage of other people. But in his case, he lived this very pure, very meticulous, very careful life. And he did it his way. He loved toys. He loved models. So he made a career selling toys and models. I mean, how many people do that? At some point, they say, yeah, I'm going to be a dentist. No offense if you're a dentist. But he just lived his life his way. And when you combine those thoughts, right? Somebody who doesn't boast about their accomplishments, who lives their life their way, who doesn't hurt people, who's always courteous to everybody. Even at the end, when he was delusional, he said, please and thank you to his delusions. I mean, it's just an incredible thing. And so, in Judaism, we say, may your memory be a blessing. But, blessings are sort of things, right? Unless you put them to work. And so we can put it to work by thinking, what would Jerry do, right? Because Jerry's not going to criticize. He's going to be accepting of other people exactly the way they are. Jerry didn't make fun of people. Jerry didn't take advantage of people. Do a little bit of that, be a little bit of Jerry. And, not only are you doing right by his memory, but you're going to improve your own life. So I'm very lucky to have been part of this family, and very happy I'm here today.
So I'm Paula's sister, Sherry, and this is a sad day, but yet we know it's the best for the best. I don't think I've known a purer person than Jerry. When he was put down into the ground, I realized that he already had blessings from God. When you think, oh, this person is going to be buried and they've done this and they've done that. Well, he didn't. He just did exactly what Ron said, exactly what we all said, Shelley. Very pure, very kind and gentle. And he was a wonderful, wonderful man. And I just wanted to say that I had peace in my heart when he was buried, because I know the Lord is smiling on him and has accepted him in heaven. That's what I believe. He never did anything that would be wrong. It was just the way he lived and he thought was right.
Good morning. My name is Joshua Kornfeld, and Jerry Robinson was my grandfather. And I guess sort of thinking about this, it's all very overwhelming. But if I could describe him in one word, I think caring and very genuine. I don't think I met anybody else who never swore and never had anything bad to say about anybody. And he definitely lit up a room when he would walk in, and you could tell. I remember even we were at the Golden Corral, and we'd he'd be going to the bathroom and he'd make up a conversation, run into someone he knows, and talk to everybody, and was very warm and genuine. And it's something that I think that hopefully it's something that everybody can take away in some ways, treat others with kindness and be very genuine. And one of my favorite memories with him was going to either the Wings Over the Rockies, the Flight Museum here, or the Seattle Museum of Flight, and walking around, and he had different stories about the different planes. I remember here he had one where he said he was in a plane once and they all had to have parachutes in case they needed to bail out, and they all were hoping they weren't going to bail out. And fortunately, they did not bail out. Yeah, I'm getting to spend time with him was very nice. And again, even at the end, he was very polite. Always said, "I love you" and "thank you," and a genuine, very nice, hardworking person. And the world will be a little darker without him. But I'm very privileged to say that, he had a large impact in my life. And I'm really glad that I got to spend so much time with him. And I guess to close, one of his sort of favorite phrases was, "We'll see you now." So I guess we'll see you now, Grandpa.
Elohenu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors. Death has taken our beloved Jerry Robinson. Our friends grieve in their darkened world, and in their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Jerry's love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For his companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of his heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give thanks to God. Birth is a beginning and death a destination. And life is a journey. From childhood to maturity, from youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness and back, we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is the beginning and death our destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. It is hard to summarize the journey of a man like Jerry Robinson. It is hard to take everything that he was and still is to so many of us here in this room and summarize it as a story. To take a man who lived so fully his 86 years, his 64 years of marriage. How do we lift that up and honor the profundity of his memory and the depth of his soul? We talk about who he was and what we learned and what we take from him. And whether it is sharing being a Denver native and Colorado proud and loving the Broncos and loving the Rockies, or whether it is sharing his love of machines, of trains and planes and automobiles and anything that goes, or whether it is sharing and remembering his absolute kindness. We lift up what we take from the gift of his life. And while I did not have the pleasure or the privilege of knowing him in person, from the stories that were shared yesterday and today, the beautiful memories and reflections of his family, it has become clear to me that Jerry's legacy lives in some of the most fundamental Jewish values that we have. Jerry lived a life of joy. Our rabbis teach us that it is our job in life to be happy, to look around at the world that we have and find the smile and the sense of wonder at what it is that we are alive. And for sure, Jerry did that. Whether it was talking to every person in a restaurant that he didn't know, or stopping on his way in every line at Disneyland to introduce himself, Jerry loved to live, not in a boastful way, as we learned, not in a bombastic way, but in the quiet connection of real relationship. What did it mean to lift up the soul of another person standing right next to him? So we thank God for Jerry's joy. And we thank God for Jerry's kindness. What it meant to find goodness in every situation. What it meant to look at the gentle side of everything that he experienced in a life that was probably not only filled with rainbows and candy, but a life that was seen through the lens of what it means to live in a world with wonder and love, and to help others share that love. And so we give thanks for Jerry's joy and Jerry's kindness. And last but not least, with all that Jerry had, it is clear that Jerry loved to share his joy and his kindness and his love of everything around him with other people. And so we think about the Jewish value that we share at every life cycle, at every moment that is important and true to who we are. We talk about this idea of Lador Vador, from one generation to the next generation. And surely Jerry lived his life with that truth. What did it mean to share himself with his children and his grandchildren? And I'm sure that when you think and reflect on the many conversations you had, excuse me, or the times that you played with trains in the basement, Jerry was sharing a lot more than just the trains. It was the conversations that happened next to the trains. It was the love that he felt when he experienced what he loved and then shared it with you. And so we thank God for Jerry's connection to what it meant to pass down his values and his love from one generation to the next generation. There is a concept in our tradition called neshama tehora, which means a pure soul. And every morning, we thank God for the gift of striving to be a pure soul in this world. Jerry had that down. He knew what that was. Neshama tehora, a pure soul on this earth. We mourn his loss, and we hope and pray that we live up to his legacy and take everything that he taught us and bring it forth into the world so that his memory can truly be a blessing. At this moment, I'm going to ask that we rise as we are able for our memorial prayer. Malei rachamim, shochen b'mromim, hamsei menucha nechona tachat kanfei Hashchina. Im kedoshim udarim kezorakia mazhirim anishmat chuna ben hodros umaka shehalach leolamo b'al harachamim yosir beseter kenafav leolamim veitzor b'tzoroi hachaim and nishmato Adonai unachalato ve'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar amen. Fully compassionate God on high, to our loved one who has entered eternity, grant him clear and certain rest with you in the lofty heights of the sacred and pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Source of mercy, forever enfold Jerry in the embrace of your wings. Secure his soul in eternity. Adonai, he is yours. May he rest in peace. And together we all say, Amen. You may be seated. May the Holy One of blessing, from whom all things come and to whom all things return, give us light and peace on this day of grief and mourning. And may our service of memory for Jerry Robinson forever bring us comfort and strength. Hamakom yenachem etchem b'toch sha'ar avlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. O God, may you bring comfort to all of us who mourn here, together with those who mourn throughout history, in all of Zion and in all of Jerusalem. And together we say, Amen. This concludes our service this morning. The family would like me to share with you that Paula would be happy to accept individual visitors, but please call first so that you can make sure that the time that you would like to come and see her and talk about Jerry and share your memories is the right time for her. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Cantor Sachs. Okay, everybody, this does conclude the service. On behalf of Jerry's family, I thank each and every one of you so much for being here today. We can continue to share memories and thoughts of him if you wish. There is a reception that will be through these double doors right here. So please stay a while, talk about him, remember him, and enjoy a sandwich or a pastry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Family first, come on in. You absolutely got here. So I'll watch you over here. You'll be one of Oh, certainly. I appreciate that.